The Darth Retro Podcast is brought to you by the letter T. Uh, T, the letter. Okay, so I don't get good sponsors these days. Who doesn't? Haha. The Darth Retro Podcast is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on intelligent subjects, but mostly just sports, music, and life. And now, here is your adorable host, Tom Wagner. And welcome to the Darth Retro Podcast. This is episode 5, isn't it? Yes, I think it is episode 5. Anyway, this is being taped on a Wednesday here in the old Fargo, North Dakota. Just a little bit after 11 when I'm starting to tape this right now. And currently going on across the river in Moorhead, Minnesota. It is moving day for the freshmen. Oh boy. Definitely quite a bit of back to the memory lane with that kind of topic. But a little bit more on that a little bit later on in this podcast. Definitely got quite a bit of stuff to talk about on this podcast, and probably very little mention of sports. So very surprisingly. So I guess August is kind of one of the more quieter months in the sports calendar, other than preseason football and baseball and the Barclays Premier League starting up, but it's kind of one of the more quiet months of the year. So I'm going to be talking about the future of radio, some Alma Mater tales, talking a little bit about some stories from the old school, Minnesota State University Moorhead, for those who do not know. And then a little bit some weird news, which is a little bit of a different side to it. And I'm going to be having a little bit of a special guest coming up a little bit later on in the show. So let's get started and bring out the first topic. Well, I believe that I mentioned sometime a little bit earlier in some of the other shows of the podcast that I've been into radio, and I just thought maybe I should probably give my take on what the future of radio is going to be, and what do I think will happen in the next probably 10, 15, maybe 20 years from now. And currently right now you basically have radio stations basically playing more of rap, hip-hop, but you're starting to see a little bit more of them playing some electronica or dubstep music. And then you basically have your bread and butter talk shows. You certainly have your progressive radio shows with like Rush Limbaugh. Then you have progressive radio with like such people like Ed Schultz, and then you just basically have bread and butter talk shows, basically. Like basically what we have here in Fargo is called KFGO, and they basically have almost every topic: politics, farm news, news in general. But then you have the sports talk shows, like you have the ESPN regional ESPN radio shows all across the country, like in places like Washington, New York, Boston, Chicago, and I think maybe there's one in Minnesota, in Minneapolis or so. But they're basically, radio stations are pretty much everywhere around here. I think basically the whole idea of radio going back to the 1950s, back when it was basically in its heyday. Though I'd probably say that radio's heyday was more in the 30s, 40s, and probably the 50s. But that's basically because television wasn't really that popular back then. It was a lot more expensive to have a television, and then you were probably more in the higher class of society if you had a television. And if you were basically a middle class guy, you basically had basically just a radio back then in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and such. But once you get into the 60s, you basically saw more people having televisions than ever before, and I think basically because of radio. Radio was basically then what the newspaper was back then, and then you have television doing whatsoever with TV shows. Then you have like news programs, and then you basically had just about a few channels, like three to four channels on at one point. But anyway, do I think that radio is going to be basically back to where DJs are going to have more power to play wherever they want? No. I wouldn't say that, because basically it's a lot more corporate. It's a lot more corporate now than it was back in the 50s, and you basically have less power for the DJs to play wherever they want. And that's basically where the Beatles really kind of got their stardom in America, was because DJs had a little bit more power to play what they wanted. I mean, they were certainly more willing to play new records like a few times every day, but then you have, like nowadays, you basically have radio stations requiring you to play this song so many times, like a day, and then you have like another one, and I don't know. I think you want more power to the DJs, but it's just the way it goes. They say it sometimes. It's looking into the future. I think whatever is more underground right now. I still think dubstep is still a little bit more underground. That's still trying to get to the surface of mainstream America. It's definitely there, but it's not quite there yet, to me, I think. But whatever's underground in the next 5 years, it's probably going to surface in the next 5 years or so, in 2022 or something like that, if that such happens. The music has a certain way of going its course. Basically, in the mid 60s, no one knew what psychedelic music was until the Doors, and probably some other groups bursted on the scene in 1966 and 7, and basically overnight, you basically had going from basically kind of the last vestiges of doo-wop, and basically the last vestiges of the British invasion, of like the Beatles singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand" to Herman Sermitz playing "I'm Into Something Good" and such, but once basically people turned their calendars from 1966 to 1967, you basically had a overnight sensation of psychedelic music, and then basically everyone was doing, LSD drugs and listening to Jimi Hendrix records, Doors records, and certainly the Beatles, who were certainly probably the biggest influencer of the Love generation in the 60s. But when I think about it a little bit more, during the late 80s, you could probably think of grunge being underground and like Seattle, Washington, and then basically once Nirvana and Pearl Jam burst on the scene in the late 90s, grunge became the new thing, and so I think the future of radio has its more of its. It certainly has its course, and I'll basically go wherever it wants to go, and whatever's underground now, it's basically going to be basically going to surface up, because that's really basically the way it goes. It's, once people start to realize that the more of the bands with talents will more surface than the ones like Nicki Minaj or some of the other talentless groups start to wane. But I think people will listen to what they want, and I'm more more or less not against people listening to whatever they want. I just don't want to. I just don't like those bands, But excuse me. I think radio will go basically wherever it goes, and whatever's on the ground will just surface up and do where the hell it wants, But I think podcasts are going to be the future, are going to be the main driving force of radio in the next 5 years. Podcasts have been around since God knows how long. Since probably since the decade began back in 2000, 2001. At least if I remember. I basically didn't get into iTunes until I was a freshman in college in 2007. So I was coming a little bit late into the iTunes era and music. Podcasts are basically the blue collar version of radio. Basically anyone can do it, as long as you have something to talk about and basically have something to drive on. Like you have basically a good following, you can basically do anything with it. There's so many topics, like games, like you can basically talk just about anything on your podcast. But of course, with this podcast, I'm basically one of the very few thousands of people that are trying to get into the podcast scene. But in terms of this topic, I think basically what I talked about was going to basically be the future of radio. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about my future in radio, probably a little bit later in the podcast to come. But onwards to the next topic. Well, as I mentioned before earlier in the podcast, this episode, that the freshmen were already moving in. to Moorhead, Minnesota, into the good old Minnesota State University, Moorhead. Um, oh boy, and it brings so much memories of it, and when I was a freshman back in 2007, which was, God, 5 years ago. It's when I think about it now, it's so surprising that it's been that long. And I was basically kind of more of the curious freshman that was interested in what college had to offer. I mean, I was basically 3 months out of high school, basically not even sure what the heck I was going to do for the rest of my life, because I was a graphic design student or major, but it was something for me to go on, at least for the time being, at least until I pick up something new to get myself into. But I'm probably just going to talk about basically just the first day of college itself. But basically once I got to college, I had my mom helping me move in to my single room in Ballard Hall, which was then all male dorm, and I basically had the basically single room all to myself. Unfortunately, I had basically the side where the whole side where there was no elevator. So unfortunately for me and my mom and some of the other people that were helping us move in, along with the thousands of other people that were hundreds and hundreds of people that were moving in, that were also freshmen as well. It wasn't too bad. It was a hassle to go up 3 flights of stairs to put stuff in one room, and basically after a couple of hours, I was basically pretty much moved in, and I was basically pretty much ready to go. And just about around this time, around 11:30 a.m., that I was starting to get into basically a little bit of the college life. Basically once the afternoon comes along, a couple of hours from now, basically the freshmen will get into their student orientation and counselor groups, which will basically give the freshmen a little bit more of a better adjustment and a little bit of a better adjustment to the college life. Basically the socks, as most of the people call them. They basically give the freshmen basically what college has to offer, and if they have any questions about books, tuition, they'll probably help them out with that and such. But socks. My sock was pretty cool, and if you have a pretty cool sock, like most people are, your the whole college experience is gonna basically go a little bit more easy for you. I was curious about college. I had the parent that was a little bit more of the willing to let their son daughter to go out and experience something a little bit different. But my mother was kind of more of the if you need any help or something, I'm more than willing to give you that help. So I think I think most parents should be like that. To let their son or daughter, to experience it for themselves, and let the college life come to them. You know, I mean, the protective parents. I think they certainly do have a reason to be protective of themselves and their children, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to let your son or daughter just learn for themselves, to learn from the experience. But in terms of that, I pretty much believe that parents should be a little bit less protective of their children once it comes to going into a dorm room and learning from themselves about the college. And pretty much once the evening of moving day happened, there was basically kind of a little bit of a more dance party for people to learn more about the people that are going to college, basically who are also freshmen. And I was certainly open to more people learning about people's lives, because basically once you get to college, you're basically home away from home, and you basically have no other way to get into contact with people from your hometown. So you have to be more willing to be more social with people that are not from your hometown. So I don't really exactly remember a whole lot from moving day, other than the orientation activities and such. Basically the cafeteria that was currently under construction at the time. Basically what we had to go on to eat was we had to eat in the ballroom while the cafeteria was in construction, which from what I heard was a totally different place when I was still in high school. Still visiting the college back in 2006, and basically for about a week, we were basically in the ballroom eating and then going to class and such. But I suppose a little bit later on, maybe next week, I'll talk a little bit more about more of classes, my first week classes and such, because your first week of college classes is quite an experience, other than orientation and college itself. But I think basically I'm pretty much done with this topic of Alma Mater tales. I do wish the upcoming freshmen lots of luck into the new school year. And basically this upcoming freshman class was born when I was in kindergarten, so certainly you really have to get a sense that you kind of want to get out of college, be done with college and onto your career and for the rest of your life. So anyway, on to the next topic or so. I'll probably talk a little bit more about more of the Alma Mater tales later on into this school year. So, next topic. And for this week's weird news is not really weird at all, but it's kind of more of a cool story. In case you people haven't heard about our recent celebrity sighting in Fargo Moorhead, West Fargo. But so here's the scoop. West Fargo diner abuzz after Tom Hanks and family drop in for breakfast, and this happened um, basically early Friday morning, and basically as such, this story is by John Lamb of the Forum. Basically reads, breakfast and lunch rush is done for the week at TNT Diners in West Fargo, but owners Tim and Tammy Hagenson are still buzzing from a special guest on Friday morning. Oscar-winning actor Tom Hanks and his family dropped in for an eye-opener during a Fargo stopover early Friday, but the Hagensons still haven't calmed down. It's really fun. Everyone is excited, said Tammy on Saturday afternoon. Everyone asks, where did they sit? What did they eat? It was the diner's popular biscuits and gravy that attracted the actor, best known for starring Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, Philadelphia, Green Mile, Sleepless in Seattle, and You Got Mail. And Hanks and his family were directed to the eatery by employees at the Fargo Jet Center, where the family had a scheduled stop. The Higginsons said that the Jet Center often sends pilots over to the eatery, but this was the biggest celebrity they ever hosted. Hanks and his family showed up at TNT around 4 a.m. The family sat in the booth along the south wall of the restaurant and under a picture of Humphrey Bogart. Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson and their sons Chet and Truman Wilson Hanks chatted with Tim and Tammy and their 8-year-old son Tyler over breakfast. That was the coolest part, Tim said. Nothing how the family was just like any other that comes in the restaurant. I don't think he is acting that much, Tim said of the 56-year-old star, noting how Hanks seems like one of the everyman characters. He is who he is, and basically goes on to talk about basically how their son drew on a napkin a rough sketch of Woody, which was Tom Hanks's many characters in his career, acting career. But it's the whole gist of the story is that basically we basically had a Fargo celebrity sighting, West Fargo celebrity sighting. In terms of celebrities, I have the utmost respect for Tom Hanks, and then again, he shares my first name, Tom, and it certainly gives more justice to the first name than probably some other people that I can possibly name, like Tom Cruise. But I think Tom Hanks is just one of those cool guys that you read about in Hollywood, and certainly I like what he does on and off the screen. So very, very, very cool guy. So not necessarily a weird news topic, but it was kind of a cool story. Unfortunately, this story doesn't have. Oh well, I guess it does. Oh well. If you look into the forum, I'm not sure if there's like a copy of it today, Wednesday, but it basically had a picture of Tom Hanks, a little bit more older than some people will probably guess, but basically he was at But basically, he was at Tim and Tammy's Diner, TNT's, and basically they pretty much went there for the home cooked food, which basically what the TNT Diner is basically all about. Basically, home cooked food, basically at a good price, and you basically can't ask for more. Um, so anyway, so if you ever get a chance to go to West Fargo, definitely check out TNT Diner. So anyway, on to the next topic. Well, pretty much as the mentioned in the first episode, that I would probably want to get more guests onto the show, and well, it's certainly I pretty much got one of those special guests pretty much on the phone with me right now. He is currently one of the greatest actors in the last 25 years. He has been in such movies as Conan the Barbarian, the Terminator movies, including True Lies and Kindergarten Cop. And see if we can get him on the phone. And you pretty much guessed it. It is Arnold Schwarzenegger. See if we can get him on the phone. Hey Arnold, good morning out there. Are you in California? Oh yeah, how you doing, Tom? How's it going? It's going pretty well. It's going pretty well, Arnold. How are you doing this fine Wednesday morning? Oh yeah, I'm doing very good. I'm having breakfast right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I interrupted your meal and such, but I apologize up front. I wasn't expecting you to have breakfast this early in the morning. Are you in California right now? Yeah, I'm very into California, and it's no problem. I have plenty of people that interrupt me doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner, with my family. But don't worry about it. It's fine. So you basically had this movie that recently came out in Expendables 2. Could you talk a little bit more about that movie, and a little bit and did you have more of a a little bit more of a screen time than the first one? Tom, Expendables 2, it has a lot more explosions where, basically you have more tanks exploding, planes exploding, and then you have tanks and more tanks exploding, and it's a lot more better than the first one, and yes, I do get a little bit more of a 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes screen time than the first one, but yeah, it's definitely a lot better of a movie. You have to go see it to believe it, Tom. Well, unfortunately, I haven't really seen the first one, so I can't really talk a little bit more about. A little bit. What? You haven't seen the first Expendables movie? What is wrong with you? No! Yo! Chill out, Arnold. I'll take a look at Expendables 1, and then I'll check out Expendables 2. Just relax, dude. I didn't want to make you mad or anything. Oh, Tom, just don't worry about it. I still have plenty of fans. I haven't seen my first Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien. Conan the Barbarian movie. But it's okay. I lost a little bit more respect for you as a podcast host than ever before. But it's but I'm okay with it. And speaking of Conan the Barbarian, have you seen that? Have you seen that remake of it? No, not yet. No, no way. I'm ever going to see that. The ladies are still raving about me over my big muscles and my handsomeness. Yeah, but I don't really go see a whole lot of movies these days, but unless it has me in it, because I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have to be awesome and to be these movies, and if the script isn't that impressive, then I'm not gonna be in your movie. I'm sorry. Um, but weren't you in? But certainly Twins with co-star Danny DeVito. Wasn't that kind of the more little bit of the more surprise move for your career? I mean, basically because you basically got done with some of these more action movies like Predator and such. But why Twins? Why go through such a move like that? First off, Tom, I'm still good friends with Danny DeVito. Even though he's short, and I'm super tall. Yeah, so tall, handsome, and muscularly. But Twins. I think Twins was kind of more of a. I wanted to do a little bit more of a soft movie than accustomed to. Like Terminator, like 3 to 4 years earlier, and then you have Predator and some of the other action movies. But it's something that I kind of wanted to do as an actor to try out. It's a comedy, but certainly Twins was, yeah. But can I ask you a question, Tom? Sure, go ahead, Arnold. Why do you say basically all the time in your podcasts? Why is that? Well, I don't know. I do say basically a lot in my talk with people, but um, I'm trying not to say it as much, but it's not really that easy to not say that word. But that's actually a really good question, because um, why do I do it? I don't know. Maybe I'm nervous or something like that. But you know, but uh, I'm trying hard not to say it, but it's it's probably more because I'm nervous about a little bit nervous. But once I get through podcast, I'm a little bit more of a better host in that I don't say words so much. But anyway, I hope that answers the question, Arnold. Yes, it does. Anyway, thanks. Um, have you seen some of my other movies as well? Um, I've seen True Lies. I've seen Predator. I've seen 2/3 of the Terminator movies with you in it. I think Terminator 2 was probably better than the first one. Basically, more because that you were more of the good guy, and it had a little bit more of a, I don't know. I thought it had a little bit more of a better storyline to me, but that was basically because I believe James Cameron was directing that movie. But some of the other movies I've seen a little bit of Twins. But other than that, I haven't seen a lot of your other movies as well. But is that pretty good? Pretty good for you, Arnold. Um, it's Jamie Lee Curtis in that movie was such a great. She's a great actress, and basically me and her were basically kind of um, one of the more funny movie couples that you probably seen in the '90s. But it's definitely quite the movie. Yeah, actually, it's probably one of my favorite movies of you, and basically one of my favorite lines in that is when Jamie Lee Curtis's character says, "God, I married Rambo." I actually I laughed at that because it was more true than ever, and it seemed like that you were more or less Rambo than probably some of your than your co-star in Expendables, Sly Stallone. Oh yeah. It's definitely kind of ball funny lines. I think I don't believe that I'm Rambo. I mean, Rambo is basically Sly Stallone all by himself, and um, it's a funny movie. It's one of my action movies, but it has some comedy into it, and basically I kick butt in it, but I also have a good laugh with it as well. Yeah, but um anyway, so Tom, I guess I have to get going right now. Oh, okay. Hey, listen. Best of luck for the rest of your career, and if you have another movie that's coming up, perhaps maybe we'll talk again. Perhaps. Oh yeah, definitely, Tom. You have to definitely see Expendables 1 and 2. They're, they're definitely better than some of my other movies as well. But it's definitely a good movie. If you're listening to this podcast right now, and you're definitely a listener to this great man, you definitely have to check out Expendables 1 and 2. It's definitely worthwhile to go see. Yeah. So, um, so anything more to add? No, Arnold. I think that's pretty much it. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so see you later, Tom. Yeah, peace out. All right, check later, Arnold. Bye. All right, so that was a pretty cool interview with a special guest, Arnold Schwarzenegger, actor and governor. So we'll probably talk to you all next week or so. I'm probably going to be taping this a little bit more earlier than I thought, since I got internet at my apartment. So we'll probably talk to you all next week or so. Peace out.